Hello and welcome to another episode of the Mark Moss Show, where we talk about the decentralized revolution, the way the world is changing right before our very eyes. Of course, we look at it through the lens of politics, finance, and technology. And that technology is the decentralized technology of Bitcoin that is changing the world. Now, one thing that I say often, and I firmly believe, is that we should all be building the world that we want. So, there's a lot of sayings that are similar to this, but it's like, you either build the life of your dreams, or someone else will hire you to build their life of their dreams. And so, you can choose to work on what you want. You can choose to spend your time doing what you want, spend your money with what you want, and you can either get what you want, which is what you want, or you cannot. And so I would prefer to think about it and try to build the world that I want. It's kind of like a time management thing, which is like you can either plan where your time is going to go, or you can be at the end of the month and wonder where all your time went. And so I think we should be trying to actively build the world that we want. And it's back to the quote that I said at the beginning, which is you either build the life of your dreams, or someone else hires you to build the life of their dreams. And so there's lots of people who are actively building the world they want. I can think of Klaus Schwab, head of the World Economic Forum. His goal is 2030, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's the world that he wants. He wants to promote something called stakeholder capitalism, meaning that basically you don't have the right, you don't own your business anymore. Now it's the stakeholders that control the businesses. And who are the stakeholders? Well, it's the 200 or so people that they've listed on their website that get to control everything. He wants to promote things like public-private partnerships, where the government and businesses work together to control the whole world. That's the world that he actively wants. We have, we could go on and on and on. We have George Soros actively using his billions to build the world that he wants, which is, to the name of his group, the Open Society. So he wants to tear down borders. He wants to move all the migrants from Syria up into Europe. He wants to move all the people from South America up into the United States. He wants to completely destroy, countries as we know. This is not controversial. The name of his group is Open Borders. So we have these people. Open societies. We have these people who are building the world they want. Of course, Bill Gates, he's spending all his money to do all these things like, get us to stop eating meat, red meat, and start us eating slop, fake meat, as it's called. Of course, he is buying up all the farmland in the United States to stop real food from being made, and then he's taking his money and investing it into these fake meat companies. So these people are building the world they want. But what are you doing to build the world that you want? Now, you might be somewhat disillusioned by the political system in the United States and maybe the world, if you're paying attention to the world, certainly the United States. This last week, I was down in Mexico. I was in Mexico City speaking at a conference called Nomad Capitalist, and it's about capitalists who are willing to move around the world to have more freedom, have a better lifestyle, have a better cost of living, reduce their taxes, etc. One of the speakers at this event was Nigel Farage, and he was the person who put together the Brexit campaign that brought the UK, or brought Brexit, which basically took the UK out of the European Union. So the European Union is globalism. So each nation, Germany and France and the UK, etc., should all lay down their sovereignty, and they should now just listen to a group of unelected leaders in the European Commission, and they should just tell them what to do. I don't think that's the right way to go. I don't believe in centrally planned economies. I don't believe that a small group of unelected bureaucrats in the other part of the world know what's best for me in my little town right here, for me and my family and my kids. They don't have the information. All central planning economies fail every single time. We're witnessing it happening right now in real time. So anyway, Nigel Farage, he put together this Brexit plan. which was getting the UK out of the European Union. I had a chance to sit down with him one-on-one and talk to him for about 30 minutes. And, we talked about, he gets it. Now, there's a lot of different opinions on this guy, especially from people from the UK. I got to hear all about it on Twitter when I posted a picture of him and I sitting down talking together. If you're not following me on Twitter, you should. It's just at @1MarkMoss, the number 1 Mark Moss. And so I got to hear all types of comments. You don't know what he said. You don't know what his speech was at this point or how he voted on this. Someone said, you should go talk to the fishermen in the UK and get their opinions. I said, I don't need the fishermen's opinions because I sat down and talked to him directly, so I formed my own opinion. Anyway, to me, he seemed like he gets it. He understands the threat and the problem that unelected leaders that control the world pose. And we talked about how we change this. Of course, he went through the political means, which was, to basically form a new government, pull the UK out of the European Union. But I asked him about, how do we continue to affect change? And, he sees the frustration of trying to work through the political means. So I said, then what is the attack vector? Like, how do we really affect change? He said, it has to be done economically. We have to do it through the money. Now, if you've been listening to any of my content on my YouTube channel, which if you don't follow me on YouTube, you should as well, just Mark Moss, and obviously on the show as well, I talk a lot about how the financial system specifically right now is crumbling. In the UK, even more specifically, the Bank of England just had to move to bail out the country, which probably won't last for very long. And so it's already crumbling, but we can also choose to affect it economically as well. And we do that by voting with our money, which I believe is the single best vote you can make. We vote with our money. What does that mean? Well, if you don't like a product, you don't buy it anymore. And enough people don't buy that product, guess what? It doesn't get made anymore because the company who's selling it doesn't make any money anymore, right? So as a business owner, I have a good idea. Hey, I want to start this business. I have this product, whatever. I take that product, that business to market. And if nobody buys it, if the public doesn't support it, I go out of business. And I go, well, I guess the public just didn't like it, right? They voted with their money. They told me what they wanted with their money. And so that is the best vote we can make. We vote with our money. Spend your money on things you like, and you don't spend your money on things that you don't like. Now, the one thing I would say, first of all, before we dig into this, is that without the freedom of payments, there is no freedom. I say this all the time. And so, again, we're guaranteed freedoms by our government, in the United States specifically, freedom of assembly. But if I can't pay to put gas in my truck to drive to the assembly, if I can't pay for food when I get to the assembly, then I have no freedom. I'm guaranteed freedom of speech, but if I can't pay for this microphone I'm talking into right now or a phone to get on social media, I don't have freedom of speech. And so we need freedom of payments, which, of course, is one of the reasons why the governments are trying to take over payments, and they want to institute these CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, so they can control exactly what you can and cannot spend your money on. So I want to talk about this. I want to talk about voting with our money. I want to talk about what we can see, these massive trends that are happening. I want to talk about some massive opportunities that are happening. I want to talk about the freedom of payment that are happening, both the getting us more freedom and losing freedom, and so much more. What else we got? We got we'll talk about this massive shift that's happening both in the markets and in the media that has me on one side discouraged, on the other side encouraged. You have to know what you're looking at, so I want to give you both sides of that. So I want to cover all of that and more. You're listening to The Mark Moss Show. We're talking about the decentralized revolution, the way the world is changing right before our very eyes, and how we can affect the change in the world to have the world that we want. We should all do that. We should spend our time, our effort, our money, our energy to build the world that we want. Otherwise, we're just passengers in a world that we don't want. First off, we'll start with just the... we'll come back to that. We'll come back to the payment side a little bit. But let's talk about a couple things. So as I was kind of saying, we have many people who are actively trying to build the world they want, like Bill Gates, actively buying up farmland, actively taking it off the market, and actively putting his money towards fake meat. So he says that the developed world, the rich countries, should eat less meat. And we should instead eat this garbage, plant-based, chemical-made processed sludge that he creates. Now, you have to understand. We're going to get back to this in a minute, but maybe I don't know if we'll cover this hour. But in Italy, they just had a new PM, Giorgia Meloni, and she came in and she had this scorching earth speech that she laid down that made me want to stand up and applaud and send this speech to everybody I know. And of course, the mainstream hates her. They've called her an extreme right-wing fascist, extreme, not just a right-winger, but an extreme and a fascist, like Mussolini, they said. And the mainstream media hates her. They're eviscerating her online because she's standing up for humanity, for people. I don't have her whole speech in front of me, but what she said is that they don't want me to be a mother, a woman, a Christian, an Italian. They don't want me to be that because that means I'm an individual. I have an identity. They want me to be a person X or a parent 1 or parent 2. They want us to be, what did she say? They want us to remove our identity. They want us to be the perfect consumer. So basically what she's saying is the blend of the corporations and the governments coming together want us to be the perfect consumer and just buy this crap they have. And they can't make money selling us natural stuff, so they want to make us fake stuff. So instead of eating cows, where they can't really control cows and make more cows, they want us just to eat their sludge. And so that's kind of what we're talking about. But the tide is turning. So one thing I saw this week is that Beyond Meat, which is like the number one front runner for these fake meat, Beyond Meat sales plummet, considered, quote, too woke for consumers. Beyond Meat, a plant-based meat substitute company, is struggling to sell its products as consumers are rejecting them as they consider plant-based meats, quote unquote, woke. This is per Bloomberg, right? This is per Bloomberg. Deloitte is one of the largest consulting firms in the world. They found that consumers are no longer choosing to buy meat substitutes because they are considered far too woke, even among individuals that are looking to eat less red meat, as according to Bloomberg. Sales of Beyond Meat's burgers, sausages, and other meat substitute products are on the decline as the company's stock has plummeted 77%. Wow, that's big. Deloitte surveyed over 2,000 consumers in July and found that people just don't want to eat anymore. So we're seeing a shift, a massive shift, and people are putting their money where their mouth is. They're trying to shove this down your throat, literally, and people say, no, we don't want it. We don't want it, and as a matter of fact, it's failing. Cracker Barrel, a Southern-themed restaurant, faced a great deal of online backlash in August after it touted a new vegan sausage patties in a Facebook post. So use your money, put your money where your vote is. If you don't like woke companies, if you don't like woke products, if you don't want to eat fake processed sludge, don't eat it. Put your money where your mouth is. But this also creates a massive opportunity. So remember, problems create opportunities. This is a massive opportunity. So think about, we're going to come back to the opportunities. So let's talk about a couple more. So back to the new PM in Italy, we can see the tide is turning. She was elected in an overwhelming audience because of her message saying, we don't want this wokeism. We don't want to be reduced down to a digit. We want to have our own personal identity. We want truth. And the people responded to it. The people are saying the same thing to Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat. We don't want that garbage. We want real things. Now, think about it. I don't have it in front of me, but if you really want to be healthy, you eat things without labels. So someone would say, when I'm looking at a label, what should I have on it? It's like, if it has a label, you shouldn't be eating it. You've probably heard eat around the outside of the grocery store. So that's meat and produce, right? Produce and vegetables. They don't have labels on them. There's no ingredients other than what they have in them. Go find the Beyond Meat and flip it over and look at the label. What does it have? 50 ingredients that you can't even pronounce? And you think those are good for you? That's what we've been eating for all of humanity? Come on. So people are rejecting that. And we're seeing this happen all over the place. Now, another great story that I just learned about this week was another conservative host, Ben Shapiro, had a sponsor on his show. It's called Harry's Razors. And Harry's Razors were mad sponsoring Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro said that boys are boys and girls are girls and boys can't be girls and girls can't be boys. And that was very hateful. And I'm sorry if you think that's hateful. But I'm not really sorry. And they said that, hey, Ben Shapiro's putting out hate speech, and they moved to cancel him. So Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire said, you know what, fine, then we'll drop the sponsor of Harry's Razors, and we're going to create our own called Jerry's Razors. Or I'm sorry, Jeremy's Razors. And so, again, we're going to put our time, effort, money, we're going to build the world that we want, and they created a competitor called Jeremy's Razors, and now they're absolutely crushing them. The market is speaking. The market voted in the Italian, for the Italian PM. The market is speaking to Beyond Meat and Bill Gates. They're speaking to the razors. And we're seeing this happening all over the place. Another one that I've been watching, I'm in the media space. We've seen the biggest and most well-known news network in the United States just go up in flames. Like literally like flying a plane into a brick wall and just going down in flames. Of course, I'm talking about CNN. CNN was the biggest mainstream media outlet. You can't go to a hotel or to a airport without seeing them everywhere. Right? They're everywhere. But they jumped the shark. They, instead of reporting the news, they push their agenda. Now, look, everybody puts out news that pushes their agenda. I'm trying to bring you facts, not give you my opinion. I'm trying to bring you facts. But, of course, I'm showing you facts that back up one side. So, okay, everyone has some sort of agenda. But when you go from facts to straight up lies, people realize that. And so we're seeing the same thing happen with CNN. I want to cover that in a minute and show you what's happening there. We're going to talk about a couple other things that happened with one of the biggest up-and-coming media stars in the world today, and then we'll go and talk about the opportunities that are there. You don't want to miss this because it's your opportunity. And we can see this in mainstream media as well. As I was talking about, CNN, the largest media network, the largest media outlet in the world, centrally planned. They're going down, burning up in flames. And I think part of this, we could really trace it back to the network going too far, right? Getting away from journalism, what it should be, right? And journalism should be impartial. Journalism should be trying to expose both sides of the political aisle. It shouldn't be political at all. They should be going after Republicans and Democrats equally. They should be trying to find the truth, but they went into, fully pushing their own agenda, including lies. And they went too far when they went after Joe Rogan. Now, Joe Rogan has become the largest alternative media outlets out there, I'm guessing, in the world. And CNN thought that they could probably go after Joe Rogan, and they officially went too far. We saw really Joe Rogan, he's created this massive following because he's talking to people on both sides of issues. And he really appears to be trying to find the truth. Now, some people hate him because he's exploring issues and trying to find truth on a certain side that they don't want to hear. But from my opinion, I don't listen to every single one of his shows. I don't listen to even the majority of his shows. But it seems that he's trying to find it on both sides of the aisle. And you really saw this throughout the pandemic when you couldn't even talk about, the pandemic at all. I mean, I got hammered on YouTube. I couldn't say anything on YouTube about it, which, by the way, if you're not following me on YouTube, you should. Just search Mark Moss on YouTube. But he basically said, look, let's talk to some doctors. Let's hear other sides of these. And so he had Dr. Robert Malone come on. He had Dr. Peter McCullough come on. And it basically showed the public what they wanted. What we're seeing is the public really want to hear this aside. We're witnessing this massive vacuum. The mainstream media wants to just tell you one side, and they want to tell you that there's no such thing as truth, and you can be whatever you want, and it's not your fault, and you're just this victim. But that's not the truth. And it's created this vacuum where all these people are dying to hear the truth. which is why we've seen the rise of Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson said, shut up, grab yourself by your bootstraps, pull yourself up. You're not a victim. Play the hand that you're dealt. And look how fast he rose. People want to hear that. People want to feel empowered. I'm not a victim. Yes, I have the right to move to change my future. Look at Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate came out of nowhere, took the world by storm. Now he's become public enemy number one, wiped off the face of the world. But he had the same message, which is be a man. Take responsibility. Take responsibility for yourself, for your family, for your children. The world desperately needs that. And the world desperately wants to see someone like a Joe Rogan tell them the truth, not just being fed lies and so forth. And we've seen, like I said, CNN has just been absolutely hammered by this. As a matter of fact, we've seen over 20 of their top executives have to leave the system. Brian Stelter, one of their top shows, got canceled. Don Lemon's show got canceled. He got moved to the morning. CNN tried to go counter what this alternative news is doing, like Joe Rogan, and they created a streaming platform, and they had to completely shut it down. They spent $300 million in a complete failure because nobody wants it. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Nobody wants to hear blatantly false information. And again, it really goes back to when they targeted Joe Rogan. Specifically, he went public and said he had COVID and he was going to use the drug ivermectin to treat it. And CNN just went full bore against him, saying that he used horse dewormer. It was from a veterinary, and he should have never done it. And they put all over the network, all over banners, everywhere, trying to take him down and disprove him. But Joe Rogan wasn't going to take that sitting down. He didn't say that, and his listeners know that. So then he started talking about, well, maybe I should just sue CNN, which I think people started to like. But then he did something even bigger. Joe Rogan had Sanjay Gupta, who is the medical doctor for CNN. He had him on his show. Remember, Joe Rogan likes to look at both sides of the issue. So he said, fine, look, CNN's accusing me of taking this horse dewormer. CNN's accusing me of, all these lies. So let's have the CNN doctor on. And Joe Rogan said, look, it's a lie. It's a lie on a news. This is his quote. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie on a news network. And it's a lie that's a willing, that they're conscious of. It's not a mistake. They're unfavorably framing it as a veterinary medicine, Joe Rogan said, end quote, said to Dr. Gupta. Joe Rogan said, quote, why would you say that when you're talking about a drug that's been given out to billions of people? Why would they lie and say it's horse dewormer? And then Sanjay Gupta had to say, he said, quote, they shouldn't have said that. He was forced to admit. So they exposed the whole world. The whole world has seen this. Now, what we saw at the end of quarter 4, 2021 in the media rankings is Joe Rogan Experience had the largest share, 11 million average views per show. Tucker Carlson came in second with 3.24. The Five came in third at 3. Sean Hannity came in fourth at 3 as well. Fox News Primetime came in 5th. The Ingram Angle came in 6th. Rachel Maddow came in 7th. MSNBC Primetime came in 8th. And CNN Primetime came in all the way at the very bottom. Turns out, after peddling false narratives all this time, people don't want it anymore. People want truth. People are willing to put their money where its mouth is, and CNN is getting hit hard. Like I said, forced to shut down a $300 million expansion, forced to shelf their biggest shows like Brian Stelter, forced to move Don Lemon down to the morning show because people want truth. And again, this is our opportunity. Now, a couple other things that you may not be aware of. We saw this week also Russell Brand. So Russell Brand is one of the fastest growing voices of reason. Now Russell Brand, I think he came to fame on like Big Brother on MTV. Then he was in a couple movies. He's a stand-up comic. He's now launched his YouTube channel, which is one of the fastest growing YouTube channels out there. He's on his way to like 6 million subscribers right now. And YouTube took down one of his videos this week. They censored him, and he absolutely exploded. It's been all over the news. He's one of those people like a Joe Rogan. He's just gotten too big. The difference of a Joe Rogan, or the difference with a Russell Brand, or an Andrew Tate for that matter, is they don't just have viewers, they have fans. What's the difference? When you have viewers, he's on YouTube, I'm on YouTube, I guess I'll watch him. When you have fans, no matter where you go, they're going to find you. Like Alex Jones. Alex Jones has been wiped off the face of the earth. You can't even find him on search results, but yet he still gets millions of people watching him. Same with Joe Rogan. He can go to I downloaded the Spotify app just so I could listen to his podcast. Like anywhere he goes, people will find him. Same with Russel Brand. You can't just shut them up, but YouTube tried. They said he misinterpreted information from a government website. They shut him down, and he has gone completely scorched earth. Now, what he's done to do that is to counteract that is a really big deal. Even though Brand tried to apologize and say maybe he got something wrong, they still removed his video. They issued him a strike to the channel because of what they call misinformation. And so Brand just went onto a crazy rant saying that when it comes to, quote, mainstream media misinformation, that's okay. He says, look, we get censored for it, but mainstream media does misinformation all the time, and they don't even care. Brand played a video clip of MSNBC's Rachel Maddow touting dangerous, inaccurate information about the efficacy of a certain risky-to-discuss vaccine, but yet her misleading video is still being published. Right, so he went to show all these things. Now, what he's done is he says, look, I'm going to start broadcasting on Rumble now. So now he's doing live streams on Rumble. Why? He's trying to pull his audience, remember, not viewers, but fans, pull them over to a new competing platform. This is the way. Build the world that you want. The founders of Rumble wanted a platform without censorship, so they went and created it. Russel Brand, a creator, wants a world without censorship, so he's going to create it. He's moving his channel over to Rumble. Of course, people don't like that. We saw the same week, Jacinda Ardern, who you might know who that name is. She's the New Zealand Prime Minister. She went out this week calling for a global censorship system. She's calling for an international alliance to censor speech. That's what she said. She's unsatisfied with the unprecedented corporate censorship of social media companies, and she wants even more. She says that the private censorship hasn't gone far enough. We need speech regulation. And she went on to the speech calling to the United Nations General Assembly for censorship on a global scale, she said. She said that she laid out a plan for the demise of free speech. She says the weapons of war have changed. They are upon us and require the same level of action activity that we put into the weapons of old. We recognize the threats that the old weapons created. We came together as communities to minimize these threats. We created international rules, norms, and expectations. And so she's talking about free speech. She says that extremists use speech to spread lies without noting that non-extremists use the same free speech to counter such views. She says, after all, how do you successfully end a war if people are led to believe the reason for its existence is not legal, but noble? Well, what happens is the truth is found through discussion. You present your facts, I present my facts, we discuss them, we examine them, we listen to this side, we listen to that side, and that's how truth is found. That's how transparency is found. When governments actively censor, it makes us not trust them. When situations come out, like Alex Jones is being hammered because of the Sandy Hook situation, well, if the government might have just came out with full transparency on what happened, maybe it wouldn't have left all these speculators to wonder what happened. There's a quote that says, ripping out a man's tongue does not prove him wrong. It only proves you have something to hide. So we can see how one side is trying to crack down more. Jacinda Ardern is calling for more censorship. YouTube is doing more censorship. CNN is going fully against any type of true journalism and trying to report one side. But we can see how that's ending up. The people know that they do not want this. The people are rejecting it. CNN is going down in flames. Rumble has sprouted up to replace YouTube. People like Russel Brand are pulling their audiences with them. This is happening. It's happening in a big, big, big way. And we should be trying to build the world that we want. How else can we do that? Well, you maybe don't know this, but you've probably heard of a company called BlackRock before. Now, BlackRock is the largest asset manager in the world. They have more money than anybody in the world. They own pretty much every publicly traded company. They have controlling interest of almost every single publicly traded company. So all these publicly traded companies, if you go, because they're public, go and look at who owns the majority of their shares, and most likely you're going to see BlackRock, you're going to see State Street, and you're going to see Vanguard, one of those three companies. But here's the thing. Well, and before I say that, BlackRock is doing lots of things that you're probably not happy with. So, for example, you've probably heard that BlackRock is buying up all these single-family homes across America. They're paying 35% over value and pushing families out of the housing market. BlackRock's doing that. BlackRock is pushing these ESG policies. So BlackRock is forcing businesses to, no businesses can invest into energy anymore. So now we don't have enough energy. So now energy prices are going sky high. BlackRock is engaging in all these what are considered activist type things. As a matter of fact, working against what the majority of the people want. But here's the thing. BlackRock, how do they have all this money? How are they able to own the majority of all these publicly traded companies? Where did they get all the money? Well, actually, it's not even their money. It's your money. What? What do you mean? Well, if you have a pension account or a 401k, or you decided to put your money into some sort of an index so you don't have to manage it, somebody else does, most likely it's under BlackRock, Vanguard, or State Street. They're the three largest. And they use your money because you're too, I don't want to use the word lazy, let's say you're too preoccupied to think about what you should be doing with it on your own. And so you just give up control and allow one of those asset managers to manage your money for you. But little do you know that they're taking your money and weaponizing it against you and your best interests. Now, people are starting to wake up to this. People are starting to realize this. Now we're starting to see new companies pop up in their place. One of them is called Strive Asset Management. Strive Asset Management is doing the same thing that Vanguard and BlackRock and State Street are doing, which is manage people's money. But instead of weaponizing it against them, they're investing it for the best possible returns, not with an activist mentality. We're seeing other anti-woke companies pop up. So T-Mobile has jumped the shark. T-Mobile is progressive themes, we'll call it that. And so now we have an alternative called My Patriot Mobile. So now instead of giving my money to them, I could just give it to My Patriot Mobile. So people are starting to vote with their money, and the opportunities are for you to do two things. One, put your money where you want to build the world that you want. If a company is doing things that you don't like, and there's another option for you to put your money, then put your money over there. Build the world that you want. Vote with your money. And if a company is doing something that you don't like and there's no alternative place to put your money, then that's your opportunity to create a business. Just like what Daily Wire did. They didn't like that their sponsor, a razor company, was trying to take them down, trying to cancel them. So they just went and got the exact same razor. They white labeled it and put a different name on it and just ran on a different platform, and they're blowing up. So two things. Your vote means very little today. Now, I'm going to still vote. Don't get me wrong. As long as I'm alive, I'm going to go out swinging. So I'm going to vote. Probably doesn't mean much anymore, but I'm going to vote anyway. But the bigger, more important vote is with your money. Look at the companies you're giving your money to. Put your money in the places that you want. Build the world that you want. If there's not places to put your money, places that you agree with, then that's your opportunity to do something with. And of course, at the end of the day, once we have CBDCs, the government's going to try to prevent you from doing that. Central bank digital currencies, they'll say, nope, you can't buy red meat. Sorry. Nope, you can't give your money to these non-woke companies, these non-ESG companies. And of course, it brings us all the way back to Bitcoin, which gives us the freedom of payments. Anyway, you're listening to The Mark Moss Show. Hopefully that makes sense. We are moving from a centralized world to a decentralized world. That's what I got for you today. Thanks for listening. Since you've stayed to the end, I know you like this video, which means you're probably going to really like this video right here and this video right here.